bright desert flowers. What a country. This is where nature just takes it easy, and man enjoys a peace-friendly way of life. This was the goal of our flight to the Sun Country. My wife, Martha. We've just had a foot of snow overnight.
Well, outdoorsman, there's snow knee-deep on the walk.
Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it, Daddy?
It sure is, Nancy. Till you have to shovel it. Well, let's get it over with. Shoveling snow doesn't take much thought. But I was just thinking, wondering what they were doing in Arizona. Say, kids, Martha, Nancy, it's just come over me.
Now, Fred, this nasty weather goes to your head. You're always saying that, but you get over it before we can pin you down.
Look, I can take a little time off. Probably do us all some good.
No, Daddy, my social life is just beginning. There are a couple of real cool dances coming up.
Well, there's cowboys and swimming and desert sunshine.
It's a deal, partner. Arizona, here I come.
TWA, I'd like 3 tickets to Phoenix in return. The first of next week. Frederick Jones. Oh, and we better have a rental car when we get there. Thank you. The day we left, there was more snow. I was glad that most of our trip would be high above it.
TWA Flight 9 now boarding for Albuquerque, Phoenix, and Los Angeles. All aboard, please.
It was beautiful. Blue sky and those fleecy clouds. Of course, it was about this time I wondered if we had forgotten anything. But too late now, thank goodness. Well, anyway, Nancy seemed to have not a care in the world. I was sure that she was fascinated by all that lovely beauty out there.
Hey, Mom, when do we eat?
Well, apparently lunch is served now, dear. Like a delicious meal. As Fred would say, that takes organization. These people know what they're doing.
I always get a new perspective on this wonderful country when I fly across it. And here we are, just a few hours from sleet and snow, at the fine Phoenix Airport in the Valley of the Sun. Boy, is that sun. After the gray winter days at home, breathing that dry, wonderful southwest air. Oh, you feel as if the wide open spaces were actually inside you. Just to show you how young you can suddenly feel in a few hours' time, we picked up a convertible that the rental people had ready for us. As we started out to the ranch, I thought of our own car, all buttoned up in the parking lot at the airport at home. and said to myself, brother, wouldn't it be tough to be an antifreeze salesman around here? It didn't take long to get to the ranch. Ranch, did I say? Well, the place Jim Roberts has is more like a country estate in the desert. There's a way of living out here in the Southwest, a casual sort of luxury, the kind that you can relax with and not have it weigh on you. Jim took us to our casa, a little adobe cottage with all the comforts of home and a view of the rolling desert that we could barely break away from. Jim got us settled so that we could really get this big sun country vacation going. When you leave winter behind, just out of sheer bravado, the first thing you want to do is head for a swimming pool. And practically everyone down here seems to have one. And it didn't take steely courage for Nancy to wet a toe here. This pool is heated to a comfortable temperature. Naturally, I got shots of one of my two favorite pinup girls. Well, here's the girl who was worrying about her social life. Looks like a swimming pool and a lot of vitamin D sunshine took care of those worries. Now, Phoenix is a regular mecca for tennis players. And why not? 70 degrees, dry, courts in fine shape all winter long. It's no wonder. Leaving Nancy and Martha to the tennis courts, I tried my golf game on as pretty a course as you'll find anywhere. There isn't much rain here, but irrigation keeps the Arizona courses in excellent shape. Naturally, I was soon right at home, in a trap. Now watch this. Besides golf, tennis, swimming, and all-round loafing, we also did some research into local customs and costume. In the little town of Scottsdale, for example, we dropped into Porter's famous Western store. Now, I haven't lived that one down yet, but darned if I care.
First stop was for some real Western duds. Fred said, "Oh, that's all right for kids," and I half agreed with him. So we thought we'd get Nancy fixed up a bit. You know. Of course, Fred didn't really want anything at all. And certainly, how would I look in a pair of Western pants? But Nancy had a field day. Then, Fred saw a shirt, and then...
Yes, sirree, partner. Someone around here really went to town. There's just something about this place that makes a man of you, or something. Well, one thing leads to another, you know. Maybe it was the clothes. But before long, they had us down at the corral. Joe, the head wrangler, picked out the horses for us. And some non-rodeo types for Martha and me, of course. Hey, Nancy looks pretty sharp up there, doesn't she? Then we were on our way. And believe me, this is where the poet in a man comes out. A warm sun, the tang of sagebrush and greasewood, the weird saguaro cactus, a bracing air. Say, I wonder what folks back home were doing while all this was going on. Shoveling snow? Or putting on tire chains? The chuck wagon was already unloaded when we arrived at a notch in the hills. Wood smoke was drifting in the air as we tied off our horses like old hands. There was more than wood smoke in that air in a minute or two. I wish you could get a whiff of this.
I wonder why things cooked outdoors always seem to smell and taste better. Eating those steaks was just no trouble at all.
Now, if you'll just excuse us, we'll live a little. Won't you join us and listen to Rusty with his guitar?
I'm going to saddle up and ride the prairies to gather the steer that's gone astray. I'm going to saddle my favorite Bronco. We'll not be back for 30 days. After I've sold my cattle, there's a gal that I'm going to wed. She doesn't want me to be a cowboy, so I'll be a banker instead. Now after we've moved to the city, I'll try to learn the city ways. But I'll bet I ride down the main street, roping people for my doggy strays. I'll rope and tie every smarty that tries to take my gal away. I'll do my best to make her happy, then she won't wander with the stray.
How long has it been to a parade? The old-time circus procession isn't seen much, but in Phoenix, when the rodeo comes along, there's one thing a citizen wouldn't think of missing. The hot sun, the clean air, the friendly atmosphere makes you feel like a kid again. The ranches, the rodeo performers, the cowboys, all get into the act, and there's quite a bit of that well-known Southwest scenery. Have given up the tom-tom for the snare and the snaffle drum. But there's a good share of the old true lore left for the winter visitor to see. And of course, some modern American lore too. Not necessarily India. one of the national championship rodeos, tops in the winter circuit and drawing the best riders in the West. One of the riders explained this event to me. It's calf roping and it springs directly out of the old roundup days when cowboys sorted out the calves born during the winter and roped and branded them. The rider gets the rope on. Then he has to tie up 3 kicking legs. It's a race against time. And watch how this pony keeps his lasso tight on the calf. The horse actually teams up with a man in this one. Next comes the bronc riding. Like most cowboy sports, it grew out of impromptu contests at the end of a roundup. Wild horses have to be tamed to be useful on a ranch. It isn't the easiest way to acquire transportation, but it works. A rider has 10 seconds to ride, if he can. He spurs the horse, uses a single rein, can't change his hands. The free hand fans the air to show he's using only one to ride. He's judged on form, and the winners collect a cash prize. And that's goodbye prize money. The clowns are always a big feature of any rodeo. And other acts round out the show. One of the 8 regular championship events is bareback riding. Who said, get a horse? Gotten its start when the old cowboys had run out of regular events and still had some energy left over. If so, this took care of that. As you can see, the animals in these events can take care of themselves. It's the cowboys who get the broken bones, but then they get the money too. After the rodeo, we drove to some of the scenic spots of the Southwest. At Tucson, we saw the famous mission of Xavier, which dates back 300 years to old Spanish days. It's not a ruin, but a church maintained by and for the Papagos Indians around Tucson. An Indian ceremonial was going on. Members of tribes from all over the Southwest came. Zuni, Navajo, Hopi, Apache. Even some Cheyennes from Oklahoma. Their dances are an expression of the old Indian way of life. That life is almost vanished now, and it's worth the trip just to get a glimpse of it. Now, this is the Eagle Dance. It's entirely different.
In the West, they live on wheels, apparently, and touring is really enjoyable when you can stop at a motel like this along the road. We met a young couple who flew out from the east and rented a car right at the airport. By taking a tourist flight and staying at motels, they got a lot of vacation for their money.
Heading north, what got me was trout fishing in beautiful Oak Creek Canyon and apple blossoms in midwinter. As a contrast to the country around Phoenix, North Arizona was all hill and pine country, and the mountains still had snow on them. Then suddenly we came on one of the greatest views in the world, the Grand Canyon of the Colorado. It took our breath away. We just had to get a closer look at this. So we got aboard those famous Grand Canyon mules and joined a party on the Bright Angel Trail riding down to the bottom. The canyon is a mile deep and 12 miles across at this point. The Colorado River, rising in the Rocky Mountains, has cut through rock of many colors for 200 breathtaking miles. More geologic formations can be seen here than in any other spot in the world. On these walls, you can read the history of the Earth's crust for the past 500 million years. Below the Grand Canyon, 200 miles down the Colorado, is Hoover Dam, which in a way rivals the canyon as a spectacle. Only 45 feet thick at the top, it is 660 feet thick at the bottom. It holds back the mighty Colorado and turns the brute force of the water into electric power and farmland irrigation. Behind the dam is Lake Mead, the largest artificial lake in the world, over 200 miles long, an ocean in the midst of the raw desert. There's a regular Navy out here in the desert, strange as it may seem. On Lake Mead and Lake Mojave, below the dam, there are big boats and little boats, outboards and cruisers. For this is one of the fishiest places in the world, and it all belongs to us. It's run by the United States Park Service, and it's open to all. In some of these coves and hidden canyons lurk some of the finest largemouth bass in the country. They'll go up to 13 pounds, and the important thing is, they're here in plenty. Outstanding angling experts come here regularly to study and write about the habits of bass. Here's Jason Lucas, for example, the famous angling editor of Sports Afield magazine. He likes the Lake Mead area so much that he stays here for months. That ought to be worth a paragraph or two, Mr. Lucas. Bass caught about 50 feet above what used to be bone-dry desert. An hour or so away from the lake, there's another kind of life entirely. Now, if I just say Las Vegas, you know what I mean. A town of the Old West that's been brought up to date and that's dedicated to the American idea of a big time on the town. We got a whale of a bang out of other things, too. Martha claims to this day that I came through them thar swinging doors looking like Wild Bill Hickok, expecting a mite of trouble from a bad man. Well, ma'am, how you talk. There's something for everybody at Las Vegas, including the kids. If you want to see how it was in the gold rush days, here's a couple of well-preserved miners washing gold. Needless to say, Las Vegas is a pretty lively town, daytime and nighttime. take your choice and your chances on everything from 5-cent slot machines to roulette. Next day, we took the plane at Las Vegas for the flight home. As the hostess greeted us, we thought back over everything we had seen and done. Swimming and golf, the rodeo and Grand Canyon, and the bright lights. Just the place, I thought, for a quickie vacation on a trip to the coast. Now we were flying over the mighty canyon, and in a few hours, we would be back home again. What a wonderful way to travel.
Golly, it was a great trip, and Dad was a peach to take us. I think it did us all a lot of good. It was fun, too.
Yes, it was. Frankly, I feel like $1,000,000 silver dollars. Thanks to our TWA flight to the Sun Country.